The post-Endor era in Star Wars after the death of Emperor Palpatine is one of the most chaotic periods in galactic history. The Empire fragmented and the Rebel Alliance reformed into the New Republic and had to grip with the idea of becoming the galaxy's next hegemon in the face of the crippling Empire. In the Empire's fragmentation, there was the Imperial government and its military forces, and then a lot of other Imperial warlords who split off from the Empire with their own forces, claiming to be their own empires. Both the Expanded Universe and Canon tackle this topic, but in very different ways. In this video, I'll be covering who ran the official Imperial government and Galactic Empire, but not the various different warlord states after the death of Palpatine in Canon and in Legends. In Canon, after the Battle of Endor, the Empire went into chaos. Gallius Rax was an admiral and triggered the Emperor's contingency plan in Operation Cinder to destroy Imperial forces that were believed to have been not loyal enough to the Empire. On the surface, Rax took steps to stabilize the Empire as the Galactic Civil War started to draw to an end, such as creating the Imperial Shadow Council. In secret, however, Rax leaked intelligence to the New Republic and further undermined the Empire. He also maneuvered his way into a position of greater power by sidelining Grand Admiral Ray Salone and Grand Vizier Masamida. Despite his official role as an advisor to the Shadow Council, Rax was in actuality the Emperor and just called counselor to the Empire. The Battle of Jaku marked the end of large-scale and official military forces which fought against the New Republic. Unknown to his own soldiers, Gallius Rax plotted to destroy the Empire in order to fulfill his obligations to the late Emperor Sheev Palpatine after already conducting Operation Cinder. However, he also intended to retreat into the unknown regions where he could forge a new empire with those whom he regarded as the worthy few, such as Commander Brendol Hux. When the New Republic forces arrived and attacked the Empire on Jakku, Rax attempted to destroy the entire planet along with both rival governments. However, Rax was killed by Grand Admiral Salone. After the decisive Imperial defeat on Jakku, Grand Vizier Masamida represented the Empire in a meeting with Mon Mothma on Chandrila and signing of the Galactic Coordinates in 5 ABY, 1 year after the Battle of Endor and the death of Palpatine. This treaty was not a peace agreement, but more so an unconditional surrender of the Empire to the New Republic. The Imperial instruments of surrender were the conditions to demilitarize what was left of the Empire and Imperial forces before being able to surrender to the New Republic. Needless to say, the various Imperial Remnants that existed after this did not consider the following Imperial instruments of surrendering to be an acceptable thing. There were Imperial Remnant factions that existed following the Galactic Coordinates, which did not follow with the Imperial instruments of surrender. Most notably is the Unknown Regions Imperial Remnant, which fled from the known galaxy after the Battle of Jaku, and the Imperial Shadow Council, which consisted of several high-ranking Imperial warlords in hiding, such as Moff Gideon and Captain Pelion. Star Wars canon took the approach of decapitation, meaning that Palpatine was the glue holding the Empire together, and with his death the Empire essentially imploded onto itself. The fall of the Empire was neither drawn out nor long, and was instead pretty quick as the New Republic assumed galactic hegemony after the Battle of Jakku in 5 ABY. This was the legitimate and Imperial government and official military forces. However, insurgencies and warlords did still exist, but they did not really operate openly or control large portions of the galactic territories. In the Expanded Universe, Imperial Fragmentation after the Battle of Endor occurred immediately, and many different warlords appeared overnight, but did not essentially claim to rule over the entire Galactic Empire. Instead, they carved out many of their own little warlord kingdoms and fought one another, as well as the New Republic and Galactic Empire for control of as much territory as possible. Although some were a lot stronger than others, and some definitely proved to be more capable than the legitimate Imperial government, I cannot talk about them in this video because it's about who ruled the actual Galactic Empire. The first to have claim to the Empire after Palpatine's death was the Imperial Ruling Council and Grand Vizier Pestige, who were often at odds with one another while ruling the Empire as many warlord factions split off from the Empire. The Ruling Council and Pestige had absolutely zero tactical skill and even relied on various deep-core warlords such as Blitzer Harsk and Truton Teradok to defend their own territories as their own loyal forces were significantly weak. Despite the fact that these warlords had split off from the Empire, Pestige heavily relied on them. The conflict between Grand Vizier and the Council was also carefully cultivated and played by Director of Imperial Intelligence Isani Isard, as she regarded Pestige and the Council to both be alike as being extremely incompetent who had to be removed in order to ensure the New Order's survival. So, she played both sides against one another until she seized power on her own. Isard accused Pestage of treason against the Empire, with all major political enemies in the ruling council rapidly being disposed of by Isard herself. With all of her remaining opponents eliminated, Isard established a dictatorship with herself as Empress, with her own royal guards. She was an empress in all but in name, as she allowed the ruling council to persist as a powerless legislative puppet body. But Isard was very poor as a ruler and strategist for the Empire. Isard led the Empire in the failed Bacta War against the New Republic, and even lost the capital planet of Coruscant. Isani Isard was presumed dead at the Battle of Typhera in 7 ABY, but she lived on for a while, was captured by the New Republic, attempted an escape, and then was shot dead. But back when Isard was preparing to consolidate power before becoming Empress, the Central Committee of Moffs had chosen their own candidate to rival her as the legitimate ruler of the Empire. That candidate was the clearly mentally ill Trioculus. The Moffs just wanted to retain their own power, which had significantly grown after the death of Palpatine, and declared Trioculus to have been the Emperor's son, and that his claim to the Imperial throne was as Palpatine's heir. They rallied thousands of Imperial leaders to join them on Kessel to hear Trioculus' claim to the Imperial throne, which was total BS as he wasn't actually Palpatine's son. Trioculus was also very mentally unstable and, well, quite honestly, a total moron. This did not work out as Trioculus was killed off quite easily and Isard then took power. At this point, a lot of you would expect me to turn to Grand Admiral Thon to be the next claim to the Galactic Empire. As his forces were substantial, he came very close to defeating the New Republic, and the ruling council supported Thrawn after Isard's many failures, as they and the Moffs bickered among one another, but Thrawn sadly does not count for a variety of reasons. First being that the ruling council had considered making him an emperor if he conquered the galaxy, but he never did. Also, they thought they could easily control him, which they could not, as those idiots had no actual control over anything or military forces in practice at this point in time. Second is that Thrawn also led the Empire of the Hand in the Unknown Regions to be independent from Palpatine's Empire, and his return to the galaxy gathered most of the Empire back together for a military conquest to prepare for the upcoming Yuzhang Vong invasion. But, you see, he wasn't set on ruling the original Galactic Empire, but controlled the majority of its Imperial forces as they flocked to him and his new Empire of Conquest. So he doesn't really count, although I think he maybe could have an argument for counting him here. Who better to next claim ruling over the Empire than the reborn Emperor Palpatine himself? The Dark Empire was Palpatine's next empire in the Deep Core, which had many superweapons such as 2 Eclipse-class Super Star Destroyers, the Galaxy Gun, World Devastators, and heavily armed capital ships. The Dark Empire reunified much of the fractured Empire temporarily in Operation Shadow Hand against the New Republic. The Council of Biss was formed to govern the Dark Empire's territory. However, this ruling council was bribed to allow the sabotage of Palpatine. After a series of early victories and some defeats, Palpatine's clone bodies were all destroyed by Imperial Guard Karnor Jax, who saw himself as the next Emperor and betrayed Palpatine as well as the Dark Empire. Directly after the final death of Palpatine came the Crimson Empire under the control of Karnor Jax and the ambitious General Wessel, who commanded Jax's military forces. Jax was quick to purge those who knew of his betrayal of the Dark Empire, which included the Imperial Royal Guard Corps, with only Kir Kanos escaping the massacre. The Crimson Empire was mostly made up of the corpse of the Dark Empire after Palpatine's final death, and Jax proclaimed himself to be a ruler of the new empire, which was essentially recognized by everyone. The Imperial Interim Council, which supported Jax against Palpatine, was rebranded as the Council of Blood by Kir Kanos for their treacherous acts towards Palpatine and the Dark Empire. The Crimson Empire was notably different from the Galactic Empire, as Jax was given the title of Imperial Sovereign Protector as he seized the holdings and proclaimed himself Emperor, but was never truly acknowledged as an official Emperor. Jax instead created a facade of representative democracy, though in reality it served as a rubber stamp for the Imperial Ruling Council's edicts. However, Jax himself was assassinated by Kir Kanos, with Burr Noloids ascended to power only to be killed as part of a plot by Yuzhang Vong agent Nomenor, who oversaw the installment of the idiotic Xandel Karavus as Emperor. His rule was also very short-lived, as Kanos killed Karavus while the New Republic captured and defeated the remainings of the Crimson Empire. This also marked the end to the Council of Blood, with the, quote, legitimate imperial governing factions, quote, by legality standards, despite how stupid and horrible they were. Additionally, the remains of the Imperial Ruling Council was finally gone at this point, and this kind of marks the end of the official Galactic Empire, as there were only warlords left. What was left of Imperial warlord factions then mostly fell under the command of Admiral Natasi Dalla, who killed 13 of the most powerful warlords at Tos Station and assumed control over the United Warlord fleets and their holdings. In her United Warlord Imperial state, Dalla launched several failed but relatively devastating campaigns against the New Republic that were poorly planned. After an attack on Luke's Jedi Academy on Yavin 4, Dalla handed over command of the Imperial Remnant to Jalad Pelion, who opted to move towards peace with the New Republic a few years later. This position was accepted by the newly formed Council of Moffs, but not by the Imperial Hardliners. The Hardliners, also known as the Restored Empire for some reason, under the control of Supreme Commander Enix Devian, ambushed attempted peace negotiations between the two factions. The Restored Empire was defeated by the Imperial Remnant at the Battle of Orinda in 13 ABY. The peace with the New Republic saw neither the Empire nor Republic able to defeat one another, and it was more of a ceasefire and peace agreement between the two factions, as the Empire did not surrender to the New Republic and vice versa. Both sides signed the Pelion-Gavirsum Treaty, which ended the Galactic Civil War officially. The Empire in the expanded universe went on to coexist with the New Republic and even fought side by side with their former enemies in the Yuzhang Vong War and formed the Galactic Alliance with the New Republic. The Empire would later split off from the Galactic Alliance in the Second Galactic Civil War and allied with the Jedi Coalition against the Galactic Alliance. Pelion also led the Empire until his death in this war. The Empire reformed into the Fel Empire under the Fel Dynasty, and then over 100 years after the Battle of Yavin, the Empire still remained alive and well and fought against the Sith in the Sith Imperial War. So that's the story of who ran the Galactic Empire after the death of Palpatine at the Battle of Endor. Which version did you prefer better, Legends or Canon? Write in the comments, and thank you for watching.